Welcome back to the Retirement Income Show. I'm your host, Wes Wood. Let's talk more about the third key to successful retirement, and that's the importance of timing. You know, in race car driving, timing is everything. You need to know when to shift. You need to know when to time your braking. You need to know when to change lanes and turn in. All those things are vital to winning that race. But when it comes to retirement planning, many people take timing for granted. They don't realize it's the third key to successful retirement. And even if they realize they need to convert their savings into income, they just assume that the right time to do it is right after they retire. But the problem with that is that it ignores the all-important transitional years. And what are these transitional years? Well, those are roughly 10 or so years before your retirement. And you can imagine that time when your kids are grown, you've accumulated some savings, and the option of taking Social Security is just right around the corner. And in my experience, the right time for most people to make this shift from growth to income is during these all-important transitional years. For one thing, what it's going to do is align your strategy with your goals right away. And the sooner those two things are aligned, the more effective your strategy can be. But understand that making a return on your money can be the sum of both growth and income. Growth, what we call the G, is measured by capital appreciation. And income, we call it the I, comes from a return in the form of interest and dividends. And by investing directly for interest and dividends, yes, you may get slightly less return than you would have if you continued to invest for capital gains, but you also eliminate or reduce the risk of a major loss. And the reason is because bond and bond-like instruments, income instruments, and a true income strategy are designed to not only protect your portfolio from market volatility, but also to guarantee your income regardless of those market conditions out there. So, why is it so important to do this, to make this shift during the transitional period before you retire? Well, let's think back. Remember back in the year 2000? Yeah, the market dropped 50%, and it took almost 7 years to recover. And remember in 2008, it happened all over again, but it was only worse. Well, if during that time you were in your 30s or 40s and you had all your money in mutual funds, yeah, it stunk and it was bad, but at least you were young and you had plenty of time to recover and you're still putting money in. But what if that happened again when you're only 5 or 10 years away from retirement? What if you hadn't yet made that shift from growth to income? If that's the case, would you still be able to retire when you plan to? Or would you just have to continue working to build things back up again? The point is that making the right move at the right time to income not only aligns your strategy with your goals, but it reduces your risk, which is increasingly important as you get older and closer to retirement. So, what's this notion of organic portfolio growth that I mentioned? Well, let's say, for example, you made the shift to income during your transitional stage, and you're getting around 4% in the form of interest and dividends on return. You're still working, so you don't yet need that interest and dividends yet for income. So what you can do is basically just use it to continue to grow your savings. Plus, if your plan includes the right value stock dividend strategy with certain risk tolerances, you even have more potential for growth. That's because if a stock market correction does occur, you're not only in a position to reinvest your dividends into shares now at a lower price, what you're going to see is your income will actually increase as the market does recover. Because of this, you can be not only happy when the market is going strong because you know your income return is secure, but you can actually be okay when the market drops because you know you're able to take those dividend payments and actually buy more shares and get a return on your investment organically. And that's what comes from a winning strategy aligned with your goals and timed just right. Now let's welcome back David Scranton. Hey Dave.
Hey Wes, so it was a whole bunch of years ago, I can't remember it, certainly more than a half dozen at this point, that I heard you're doing a lecture for a group of financial advisors, and you were talking about all the most common mistakes that people make in planning for retirement. So yep. Is this failure to make a timely shift from growth to income philosophically in the client's mind, is this the number one biggest retirement planning mistake that, in your experience?
It probably is. I mean, that's what I've seen. You know, I mean, the biggest fear that most people have when they're in retirement, it's not the fear of passing away, but it's the fear of outliving their money. And what I found is that the reason why most people are outliving their money in retirement or having to take a significant reduction in income later on in life, probably when they need it the very, very most, boils down to that mistake, is that they fail to make a shift. They fail to make a shift from the accumulation phase, the growth phase, to making a shift to income and focusing on distribution and investing for interest and dividends. No doubt about it. That's why this timing that I just talked about is so important.
So tell me, why is it then that you decided to make the shift? Because remember, not only do clients have to make the shift philosophically, but most advisors start with a growth mindset when it comes to how they handle clients. But you had the courage to make the shift from a growth mindset as an advisor at a very young age, I might add, to an income mindset. What was your motivation for becoming an income specialist?
Well, yeah, you know, I've been doing this now for nearly 20 years, starting the industry in 2003, and right out of the gate, out of college. And if you remember, the market was way, way, way down. Well, I noticed that all these advisors around the office were just, you know, continuing to send their retirees checks out of their accounts. But what was happening is that they were just liquidating the accounts when all these shares were down. Now, these advisors had lived through the 90s and a lot of them through the 80s, so 2 fantastic decades in the stock market. But I'm sitting here brand new in the industry and like saying this just cannot be a very good thing. So the reason why I made that shift is I know that interest and dividends, if it's coming from that instead of principal, is a better place to be.
God bless you, my man.
Yep. But, well, thanks again, Dave. And hey, I'm Wes Wood, the income guy. And if you have any questions of anything that we've covered today, please reach out to me at retiretv.com or by calling 855-776-0614. Thanks for watching today's show, and be sure to tune in next week.